My journey's been up and down, as they say in the industry. It started some 8 years ago with the Code Sustainable Homes, where I was building one of the first projects of Passivhaus, not Passivhaus, but Code 6. And along that journey, realised that basically it's so difficult to get all the trades working together, and set off after the crash in the industry to actually come up with a very simple way of building and testing buildings. When we talk about retrofit, I think we all talked at this today about doing it incorrectly and not spending enough time on joints and junctions and understanding the building of the holistic approach to building. And what I've tried to do with Beattie Passive is to make that very simple and to make it something that everyone can understand. And in case, everybody can do it. In our normal build process, that's the Beattie Passive build system, we have young people in colleges building the components that go into the Beattie Passive home. We have self-builders come on training courses and building some wonderful buildings themselves. And then we test every building to guarantee its performance. And I think there's a lot about the system that I integrated into Beattie Passive that has been able to be transferred very easily over to the retrofit market. Now, why Passivhaus? Passivhaus is undoubtedly, I think we've all come to know this, the highest quality we can achieve now in energy performance for our pound. You know, it delivers that 90% saving in energy. I take it that you all understand what Passivhaus is, or maybe I'm jumping the gun a bit here. Can I show of hands anyone that doesn't know Passivhaus? Good. So we've all got a good understanding of what Passivhaus is. Now, to do a good retrofit, I think it's about the holistic approach. And the holistic approach comes from skills. Now, when we look at a house, and when we look at many of our retrofit projects, I think we look a bit too much in depth if you're not going to do it as a holistic approach. And what Beattie Passive does is says, forget the house, it's there. We live in it, we've got these issues. What's important is what we're going to do externally in a Beattie Passive system. So we'd have no real interest. We have a survey and we find out the faults in that building, but we're looking at it as a new T-cozy, a new structure that's going to envelope over that building and go down to the foundations of that building. So we're taking away the existing building. Potentially, you could take it down. It's not now part of the thermal envelope of that building. You then just eradicate the issues that you would start with if you're looking at a building to do it in bits and little pieces. Of course, if we cut the coal bridges, if we can reduce the U values down to 0.11 for the walls, 0.11 for the roof, and air tightness down to 0.6 or 0.1 in Enofit, we can cut the heating requirements by 90%. So what we're looking here is a complete holistic approach to doing it. Savings on energy at 90% bring us the pound. We can save 90% of the energy, which means we're saving those pounds. The other part to look at it is the skills and what that actually means for a community. Us at Beattie Passive, by working with colleges and local employers, we see a great amount of actual value put back into the community in doing our retrofits. We've done this for so long. This is a recent retrofit job in Norwich, and I think we've all seen it. The gas meter cut round, not going into the window reveals. So this at a cost of about £12,000 has achieved what? The mould and the radon gases. We've seen a 40% rise in asthma in the Exeter report from Exeter University for newly retrofitted homes. And we've now got this radon gas, which if we get in these airtight buildings, what's the cancers going to be? We lose about 2,000 people a year to radon cancers. So as we make these houses even more airtight without proper ventilation, then what we're doing for cancers in radon. So, the benefits of doing it correctly and doing it holistically. The health benefits are massive. I think we've talked a bit about that today. But by cutting CO2, by improving health and asthmas, It's going to make, again, the financial model work. The environment in a passive house, it's 21 degrees. It's 21 degrees in the middle of the room. It's 21 degrees at the edge of the room. So we get this comfort level that is achievable if we do a holistic approach to it. We're going to massively cut the CO2 performance. And that is something that wherever we are in Brexit, wherever we're going to be in Europe, we've got these goals to meet, and we need to start now. The industry needs upskilling. Where those people are going to come from, where the training is going to come from, who only knows. We're not replacing people in the industry. We're not giving them the right environments to work in. And we lose about 400,000 people a year out of the building industry across the trades, and we don't replace anything like that. So we need to make it more enjoyable, we need to make it simpler, and we need to get young people back in the industry. We've just recently working with the prison service throughout the UK. So at the moment we spend £11 billion recycling prisoners. So why don't we build houses? Why don't we build the components to retrofit houses? And that's something that Beattie Passive is doing as well. We need to take this holistic approach with regeneration. We cannot just do one house at a time, and I think that's what Arno's going to talk about in a moment, and we're part of Energy Strong and support it as part of our process. It's about doing things collectively, and to make things work, we've got to do it as a regeneration product, to bring numbers into the market, to make people want to do it, and to make it viable financially. These are some houses where we're just about to do in Birmingham. There's a few in Birmingham we're doing. And recently I took photographs of what we've got there, which is some wimpy fines, no fines buildings. And on the right is what we're going to turn it into. Ask the valuer, two valuers, what's the price? How much you pay for the one on the left here? And how much worth the one on the right once it's been retrofitted? £65,000 difference. Would you, anyone here, buy the house on the left? Hands up. You can have it for 90,000. Who here would buy the one on the right? No one again. So it's about value. It's about whether or not, if I come out of that house on the right-hand side every day and look back at what I've got, or do I walk in the community and I walk out and look at the one on the left? So the value you get from doing a retrofit isn't just about the fabric. It's a holistic approach to the whole feeling and meaning of the environment and the community. So Beattie Passive take a very, as I said, it's a continuous insulated envelope. We don't want to move people out of their homes. We're not going to be able to. We're involved in a project in the Isle of Man where at the moment their retrofit is because their external skin was built after the war with no cement. And actually it's falling out and the weather's got into it and deteriorated all the tyres. They're spending £57,000 on each property to move people out for 26 weeks, to come back to rebuild the front skin with 25mm of insulation, because that's all they can get on the foundation, put new windows in, new roof, and that's cost them £57,000. What improvement is that giving? None. So we can give them a passive house improvement with zero energy. How do we do it? Forget what's in the house, forget that building. That's rooms are nice, and a lot of the old houses have got wonderful sized rooms, tall ceilings, not like we build them today for our pound. And think about a new building going over the top, a new frame. So we look at that building and say, how structurally can we support that building without actually touching it, without putting any excessive load on that building? We then, after we've done that, we look at ventilation. You cannot do any retrofit without proper ventilation. So in the external part of the building is the mechanical ventilation, MVHR. And that is situated outside the building, in the fabric of the building. So it can be maintained by the local authority if it's a local authority home. You haven't got to go in that building and run big pipes everywhere. You actually go in that building twice. One, to take the windows out and put the windows in the new facade, and one, to knock through the plaster where you've core drilled a hole and put your ventilation, core ventilation in. So MVHR is integral in the external part of the building. PVs, we've all had the sort of, there's no more feed-in tariffs, but battery storage is coming, and that makes it very viable. So once we can all pick up a little £2,000, 8 kilowatt battery storage system on the side of the building, integrated into the building as well, then we're really talking zero carbon. Triple glazed windows, passive certified. Again, no point having a great fabric if you're going to have not good windows or doors. So again, holistic approach, the best we can possibly do. Take it down to the foundations, at least 600 mil down below the ground, so we can start reducing the cold bridge at the bottom. It's not perfect. We can reduce the U value down to about 0.43 by going continually around the building. But you're going to stop that core heat going through the building. If it's a timber frame floor, you've got to ventilate it. It's got to be part of the structure. It's got to be part of the ventilation system that actually allows that building to breathe naturally. And always expect buildings will get damaged. Always build with materials that allow moisture to go in and won't hold it, and give them an escape valve. Because one day, that building will lose its roof. One day, the water will pour into that cavity where that insulation is. So use insulations that won't absorb moisture and will allow it to breathe. Because if we don't, in 100 years' time, or 50 years' time, or 10 years' time, or tomorrow, that building will allow more moisture in it. So all the materials we use must be allowed to be damaged and kicked and moved and touched, because that will happen in houses. We don't leave them alone like pressure ornaments, we actually knock them about. Engagement with occupants is massive, and we talked about controls. If you're going to do a retrofit, make them part of the retrofit. Make them understand why you're doing it, and also what they're going to achieve. And people have some fantastic ideas of what they're going to achieve. We put some PVs in the house one day, and a client, only 2 kilowatts, and the client was inviting all their friends to put all their plugs and things into their house because they thought it was all free, enough energy. So you've really got to understand what people's expectations are of the retrofit. And then test every building you do. Every building at Beattie Passive goes, everyone is airtight tested, everyone is thermal modelled, everyone is sound tested, everyone is signed off by a structural engineer and local building control. Test what you're going to get. It's the only way. And also then performance. Go back 2 years later, say, is it working? These are some of the bits that Beattie Passive also do. The simplicity off-site manufacturer. We've just finished one in Coventry, which I run through on a block of flats. And trying to take materials up scaffolding, round scaffolding, on scaffolding, little bits and pieces to put them all together, it's very costly. So off-site for retrofit, where it can come quickly, and that's part of the energy spawn model, is to bring it in, and speed is important, but not at the sort of depreciation of quality. We must get these buildings as best as we can. This is my first one we've done sort of 4 years ago. And we took the house on the left, which was 90 square metres, I think, and then we done a retrofit of it, put a new extension on it, and made it about 205 square metres. At the 105, it was only £7.11 a metre. It's now £1.03, and we've doubled the size of it. That is an 86% saving. That is double the size. That's £1,200 a year that client's got now, because his energy is actually costing him next to nothing. Put some PVs on that with a battery, you've done it for zero carbon. This is the key bit. This is where we've got to make it work. £400,000 house to start with. He spent, with the retrofit, with new kitchens and bathrooms, and extended the house double the size, £150,000. It's now valued at £750,000. Yes, there's been an uplift in property, of course there is. But if you can balance it out, if you can look at that property price and say, can we balance it out? And that's over maintenance and all the other bits that go on, then the savings can be just in your pocket. The one we just recently finished with Innovate, block of flats in Solihull. No, sorry, Coventry. These ones, there's 100 blocks like this, and the council are saying, well, you know, we spend about £10,000 on a block normally, and they tart it up, put paint on the windows, and they do a bit. And this one's cost £270,000 to do. It's not viable in that area to do it without some sort of subsidy. But what we're looking at is our piggyback, where we can put more buildings on top. And that changes the whole scenario. Some of the things we learned, and I walked on site one day, and you can see on the left-hand side there, all those lovely pipes. And although the MVHR installer had a plan, which was done in BIM, which was shown to him, the guy on site still went along and stuck them all together. And the U value in that point of the building was reduced to 0.14. But they shouldn't be all together, because of course you mass up that without insulation going around them properly. And how do you know that works? It's only by going on site and checking and checklists and photographs to make it work. There's plenty of room for them to go, but it's a lot easier on site to run them all through in one go. So it doesn't matter how good you are or what process you got, it still goes wrong on site. So it's really important that you actually work through the processes. The MVHR system. We all know that clients, some of my clients, understand MVHR more than I do. But some of them just want to live. Not interested in how the house works, just want to live. So if we can get the MVHR systems outside, if we just give them a boost button inside when they need it, then that's all that's really necessary. And then the housing associations can come and do the filters properly and maintain things properly. Nothing works unless it's maintained. We've cut 84% of the heating here. But I think we've done more than that. We've given those people a lovely new environment to live in, a healthier environment, one that they're going to be... And everyone actually around the estate is saying, when's ours being done? And the council are saying, well, we haven't got £270,000. But it won't be £270,000 forever. It's £270,000 now, because that's the first. As things go on, this is going to be coming down. And, and with Energy Strong, the way they've seen it a little bit more in the Netherlands, prices are tumbling because we're learning lessons. And the more we learn, the cheaper it gets. 2 more in Birmingham we're about to undertake. And it's again about innovation. How do we know we can do this off-site now? So you try it. You build bits of components. You put them together. You test them. You look at air tightness. And in our factory in Norfolk, we've been building bits of components and dropping them on. Is it possible? Does it work? And then you test those components. You test the air tightness. You look at the MVHR system in there. Can I move it? Can I get to the joints? How do I know it's going to be there for 100 years still working? We don't know. It's not going to be in 100 years. So it's really understanding and trying to make things the best you can at this stage. This works. The house, the block of flats on the right are there. They're still there on the one on the left. The one on the right has gone up by 150,000. Basically done nothing. That's worth 450,000 at its present look. It's worth near enough 700,000 on this left look. The new frame, the new building, has not touched the old building. It's actually 25 mil away from it. But what a massive difference to a building. And the new stock on top of the building is paying for everything. It's basically free to all those people in. And it doesn't matter if I live in it and I bought it for myself or I'm a council tenant, because I've still got the value and I've got no heating. Where's the downside? Us at Beattie Passive are looking now how we can fund that, because what we need to do is to understand the whole holistic approach to go to councils and say, you've got this stock, we can deliver this to you. We can deliver it, fund it, finance it, and give you a profit share at the end of it, so you can go and build more houses. But it's got to be a holistic approach. It cannot be piecemealing things together. We haven't all got this solution, and Beattie Passive doesn't work for every house at all. But Beattie Passive works for a certain amount of properties throughout the marketplace. But doing it correctly and doing it right is the only way. And testing every single building. So everyone is going to deliver.